to chat with the chairman. I'm Pam Hepburn, CFMA's 2021-22 chair, and today I'm visiting with Pam Hummel. Pam is the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Industry for BRIC. It's nice
Thank you so much for having me, my friend.
I'm happy to be here. It's good to have you here. Hey, July 30th is International Friends Day. And so that's why I wanted to invite Pam to be my guest on Chat with Chairman for July. Welcome, Pam.
That's so nice. Thank you.
I have lots of friends with CFMA from, all of the things that I've done with CFMA. Do you remember how you and I met?
I do remember. Because it's sort of specific. So I hope you don't care if I spill the tea.
No, all of it.
Okay, this is girls. So you and I met at a CFMA annual conference, which is how I've found that a lot of CFMA friends meet. They meet at the annual conference. You and I actually met at Chapter Summit, which is, for those who haven't been to the annual conference, it's the meeting of chapter leaders from across the country, get together on Saturday morning and for most of the day, do a lot of peer-to-peer networking and information sharing and idea gathering. And we happen to be at the same table. And at Chapter Summit, we sit at table rounds and everybody gets a tent name tag that you fill out for yourself. And there are markers and the name tags on the table. Everybody fills out their first name and you put it so that it faces everybody else at the table. And you and I were sitting across from each other. Mm-hmm. We both filled out our first name and put our name tags up so everybody could see. And we looked across and said, oh, we're both named Pam. Right. And so we said, we'll put our last initial on it also. That way everybody can know which Pam it is. And so we both turned around and put our last initial and turned it back around. And it was still the same. We were both Pam H. And we thought, well, how often does that happen? It's not even that common of a name. And so then we had to continue with spelling it out. But what it really turned out to be was that you were the good Pam. And I think that's how we ended up referring to you at the table. So it's
I think it's other, right? It's Pam and the other Pam, not necessarily Pam and the good Pam. And I think even sometimes good Pam has gone back and forth.
That is true. We have shared that title a few times, or changed it or handed it off to each other.
Or the opposite, the not so good Pam. It goes back and forth.
And so it was kind of a funny meet cute, if you want to say that. And then, as luck would have it, as my luck would have it, we found that we have a lot in common. We have a lot of common interests, and we also went on to serve together on several committees. And so I had the chance to actually not just become an industry peer or colleague, but actually become your friends and become your friend. And I'm very happy I did.
I am so happy too. And I think that really close friendship and development of friends is one of the things that really sets our association, CFMA, apart from other associations. It's just the way that we build friendships working together.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's true. You might not think it. Well, it's just a professional association. It's just an industry alliance. We are a unique subset of the construction industry, but construction itself is very relationship driven. I've met folks from across the country who I would never likely have met if it hadn't been for CFMA. When you meet people at CFMA, you have an immediate common interest or common bond, which is the association itself in the industry. My lifelong best friend, who I've known for 31 years, because obviously I'm only 40 now, I've known for 31 years, no, more than that. Okay, anyway, more than 30 years. We met at a CFMA local chapter event here in Southern California, playing craps, not real craps, but for play money. She walked up to the table and said, "This looks like a lot of fun, but I don't know how to play craps. Will you teach me?" That started a conversation, and that bloomed into literally a lifelong best friendship. She's, we're as close as sisters could be. She's my younger daughter's godmother. I've met another example, Rich King, great CFMA member, great CFMA leader from Pennsylvania. He and I were serving on, I believe it was conference planning together. Now, we would have never met, even probably through CFMA, if we hadn't served on a committee together. And I don't know that we would have even become friends, because you don't necessarily become close friends with everybody, but he he made some sort of 80s music reference, like hair metal music reference, maybe even to Tesla. And my ears perked up because
Was
I'm
it
a
like
music.
cowbell or different?
No cowbell, no cowbell with Tesla, but that would be Ken Chicatella.
Yeah,
But
true.
we started talking about 80s music, and we both have a passion for 80s music. And, you know, who would think? And so we've gone on to become great friends, and we share information on upcoming concerts and stories about music, and, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. Um, I met my great friend, who my daughters refer to as Uncle James Benham, I don't know, decades ago, at a CFMA conference. On the face of it, you might think we're an unlikely alliance. Single mom from Southern California, um, you know, Army Corps of Engineer, you know, or Army Corps, Texas A&M, Texas dude. You would not necessarily put us together in the room as great friends, but we met at a CFMA annual conference, and somebody dragged him to me or me to him and said, yeah, the two of you need to talk because you are opposite sides of the same coin. We went, oh, cool. Are you an ENTJ? Yeah, I'm an ENTJ. Fantastic. We're friends. And who would have thought, you know? So it gives you the opportunity to meet people you wouldn't necessarily meet. You already have a common bond, and you just develop friendships that are built on and enhanced by the association, by being members of CFMA.
That's so well put. And also working together for a common
Oh.
cause. I think, you know, you talked about meeting a lot of those friends on a committee, and just being engaged in something that's meaningful together brings a lot to that picture too, I think. So you told the story about how we met at an annual conference, and we're going to see each other about a week from now at the 2021 hybrid conference. I'm excited about seeing you again. What are you excited about next week?
Well, I'm always excited for the conference. You know, it's kind of the face of the association, even last year in a virtual environment and this year in a hybrid environment. I will be there in Dallas with you. Howdy, Texas. We're gonna be there. Okay, this is gonna sound ridiculous, but it really is true. And I think there are probably a lot of people feeling the same way. I'm excited to just walk up and hug my friends.
Yeah.
You see a lot of that at CFMA conferences, not in a weird way. People, you know, walking down the hall, you see your friend, you know, that you see maybe once or twice a year, you give them a wave, and it's your first instinct to hug them, and how are you, how's business? And I think that is going to be magnified this year. How are you, really, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How's your company? Even folks who compete with each other, you know, we have come through a difficult time, our whole society, and then certainly our smaller society of CFMA and the construction industry. And I think people really want to know and see and hear directly from their friends and their colleagues and even their competitors that they're okay.
Yeah.
That aside, the personal, I want to hug my people aspect, I think I'm really looking forward to the general sessions. I think that the conference planning committee has done a fantastic job of giving us some really diverse speakers and topics. Of course, we have Honor Bond as always, which is amazing. People look at me like I'm a little strange when I say how excited I am to hear an economist speak, especially first thing in the morning, but you're just going to have to trust me. It's worth it.
Yeah.
The other general session speakers are really interesting and varied, and I'm really interested, and I'm looking forward to the general session speakers.
I am too. It's going to be a great conference, and I'm excited that I get to see you. And like you said, see all of my friends, and or at least the ones that are attending in Dallas. I'll have friends in the other locations too, and hopefully everybody across the country, wherever they're attending, can get a hug.
Absolutely. Oh, I hope so. And next year in Georgia, in Atlanta, where we'll be, I expect to have a great turnout and an exponential number of hugs.
Yes. I'm excited for that. So you're super passionate about CFMA. That's really obvious. It's been obvious to me since I met you in 2009 at a table at Chapter Summit. And you're also really passionate about volunteering and about serving the organization. And how is it that you became such a super volunteer?
Oh, that's so flattering. A super volunteer.
Yes,
I'll take.
that's you. Pam, the super volunteer.
That's funny. Funny enough, I'm really not a joiner. I wouldn't characterize myself as a joiner or committee person, but when I did join CFMA again in the Orange County chapter, I've always been a member of the Orange County chapter here in Southern California. I was a member for a while and attended events and got involved in the chapter board, and ultimately became involved in several national committees. And I just found along the way that I really got much more out of the experience than I felt like I was contributing. Met so many people, gained so many business contacts, and learned so much about the industry. I mean, just the peer-to-peer networking and the learning that you get from that. And so I became more involved in national committees, which, as you know, take a lot more time and effort. But again, the reward is even greater. You learn more, you become a better leader, you develop skills and qualities that you might not have had the opportunity to otherwise. I've served on a few national committees. I would say that the biggest honor of those was to serve as a member of the executive committee. You and I served on the executive committee together, Pam, which is essentially the governing body for CFMA, and really, really important because that's a role where you are representing, your constituents and the actual members of CFMA, and making long-term strategic decisions that impact the future of the association. It's very humbling when you're chosen, and it's a lot of responsibility when you're participating. And so I would say, in terms of kind of the biggest honor I've had, it's been serving on exec. I currently serve on both the Leadership Development Committee, the National Leadership Development Committee, which is really, really important to me. And the other committee that I'm exceptionally passionate about is the Diversity and Equality Committee. But, you don't have to participate in every committee in your chapter or anything regionally or nationally to get a lot out of it. But I would say, if you're at all interested, start at the chapter level and see where it takes you.
Well, and I know, Pam, you've served on the conference program committee for quite a while, and you've had a very deep passion for that committee and for putting on a fantastic conference, and you contributed to that in so many great ways. One of the things that I admire about you is that I've observed that you jump in and you give it your all when you decide to commit to a committee or anything that you do. But that with the CFMA committees, at a certain point, you've stepped back in order to make room for others to have an opportunity to serve too. And I do really admire that about you, and the way that you've served on lots of committees, but you've always made that room for other people to come in behind you and have an opportunity as well.
Well, I think that that's important. And we talked about the Leadership Development Committee, and I think it's an important part of leadership is knowing that it's important to have that space for other people to succeed you. It's part of a succession plan. I never really want to be asked to leave a party. I would rather leave before I'm asked to. I would say some years ago, I probably stayed on committees, and I think there were some of us in my generation that stayed on committees maybe a little bit longer than we would have or should have, but it was really important to hold that space maybe for younger women coming up who needed to have a vision of what leadership in CFMA could be, and know that they had a place in leadership on committees. I'm so proud. Well, I mean, I'm delighted because of the fact that you're my friend, but I'm also very, very proud that you're a woman who's the leader of our association this year. And we'll be having another female leader, I'm sure, very soon. We've only had 7 female chairmen of CFMA, and it's delightful to see that tide is turning. But it's important to make space. For a long time we had to hold some space, and now it's important in order for us to ensure the succession of our association, that young people have space, that they have space to come up and contribute, and they have space to share their ideas and their thoughts. We have to step aside for that. It's the way that we promote leadership. Holding on to leadership positions does not promote leadership within our association. giving of ourselves and whatever time and talents and skills we might have, and then letting somebody else take the baton from there. I think it's really, really important. I think it's really important. There's so many other ways to serve. You don't need to sit on the same committee forever.
Even though you're passionate about the topic. And I think that's where, because I know you had deep, deep passion for that committee in conference planning. I really do admire that. And I agree with you completely. I think that young women in our organization are going to look to you and ladies like you who are fantastic contributors and fantastic leaders in our organization, and see that they can do that. And so, yeah, one of the biggest things to me about leadership is to be a role model. And I think you do that in a really nice way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm very passionate about the conference. I served for a decade or something on that committee, and was probably about 7 years too long for Brian Summers, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sure he enjoyed having you on there. I would.
And yeah, I mean, you really have to be passionate to serve on that committee. You've been on that committee. It is hard work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and a lot of things. There are always a lot of challenges with producing a conference of this size and magnitude. There are so many things that happen behind the scenes, and especially the conference. I think it's important for us to have turnover in representation. You know, we're representing CFMA members at the conference from all across the country, from, you know, whether you're an associate member or a general member, whether you are in Portland or whether you are in Miami, whether you are a small, medium, or large size contractor, whether you're, you know, whatever your gender is, whatever your religion, whatever it is. And
well, even level in your organization, because
yes,
we've got some
absolutely
younger people in non-CFO or even controller positions that are able to attend our conference sometimes. Yeah.
Project accountants, you know, folks who are getting kind of their first experience in interacting in that environment in the industry. And so we need a really good, diverse group of people serving on that committee. And at a point, I'm going to continue to come to the table with my same ideas after 10 years. You know, that's fine, but we need new and broader experiences. And so that was what prompted me to say, you know what, it's time for other people. As much as I love it, and I do, and I did, you know, it was time to give other people that space and opportunity. And as we've seen, I mean, obviously not last year, but I will say that last year with the conversion to a virtual conference, I think having new participants and young, bright minds thinking about other ways to present the conference, and the same with this year, I think really helped. Yeah. I think it helped us be nimble. Yeah, it helped us to be nimble and present something different and innovative, and give our members the opportunity to still have that conference, but maybe just, you know, envisioned a little bit differently.
So you're working with Leadership Development Committee now, and I am really excited about all of the work that committee has done to what I call widen the funnel, right? Just get more people who are interested into that national national volunteer funnel.
Yep, absolutely. You know, we have to cast a broad net. A lot of that involves helping people envision a leadership path for themselves. And I think very often, Erica Urbani speaks about this really eloquently. I think involvement in CFMA helps you envision a leadership path for your career that you might not necessarily have envisioned. If you are just attending chapter meetings, you know, you can see people interact with each other, engage with each other, if it's a CFO or a controller, if they're a board member or a chapter leader, whatever it is, and you can start identifying ways in which leadership feels comfortable to you. And as we start broadly identifying those members by casting that wide net, we're ensuring the succession, again, of our industry, or excuse me, our association, and the growth of our association. We talk a lot about it's, you know, we're planting seeds that we might not necessarily ever see grow into trees, but we know that it's going to continue to grow. And so the Leadership Development Committee formed a few years ago with the understanding that we maybe had not been as proactive about that as we could be or should be. and that we want to continue to grow as an association, and that outreach was a really, really important part of that. And so I'm proud of the work we've done so far. And I think that there's a big wide world out there for us still at CFMA to develop leaders and show them a path within CFMA and within their own careers that they can leverage to become better leaders.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity there. I think you're absolutely right. Well, Pam, I think that you and I could probably talk all afternoon if we had the time. I know we have before, but unfortunately we kind of have to wrap this up. Before we go, we always like to ask our viewers a question. So if viewers, if you will put your comments below and just let us know, who's your CFMA best friend?
That's such a great question.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the answers. Who's everybody's CFMA best friend? Yeah.
And I think in some cases, it's not going to necessarily be people you would expect.
Yeah. I think you're right. All right. So thank you so much for joining me and doing
Excited
this.
to see you next week.
I'm excited to see you too.
Not
and
just on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Not in person, maybe get a hug, right?
Yes.
or two.
Definitely get a hug. 100%. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it. It's great always talking to you, Pam. Thank you.
It's always nice to talk to you too. To our viewers, I hope you'll join us next month. My guest will be Tony Stagliano. Tony is the National Managing Director of AEC for CBiz and Meyer Hoffman McCann.